You stand at the cashier. You pull out your phone, tap the terminal, and in a second, the numbers on your screen decrease, while the goods in your hands become yours. We call it money. We call it a transaction. We take this for granted. For granted.
But now, let's travel back in time, a long way, 50,000 years ago. No credit cards, no gold coins, no global banking system. You're standing in the middle of the jungle. Night is falling, and you desperately want something someone else has. Maybe a spear they've just sharpened, or some leftover meat from today's hunt.
If you don't have money, what do you give? How do you convince others to give you what they have? Many people will say, oh, they must just be bartering. But that's where the mistake lies.
We are often told that early humans were primitive creatures who lived by hunting and gathering alone. But the reality? The money system may have existed long before we knew the concept of economics. And if I say that money is not actually about metal or paper objects, but about something much more ancient, more abstract, and for our ancestors, much more dangerous. Trust.
All this time, we've been taught in school textbooks that before money was invented, humans bartered. The idea was simple. I have a spear, you have meat. We trade, and that's it.
But anthropologically, that's just a myth. Imagine how inefficient that would be. What if I had a spear, but you didn't need a spear? You needed animal skin. What if I had to search 10 people before I found someone who had what I needed and wanted what I had?
In small groups of early humans, such systems were almost unheard of. Why? Because they didn't live as isolated individuals. They lived in very tight-knit groups. In such a structure, bartering was a poor way to make friends.
In reality, theirs is a debt economy. If I give you meat today, I don't expect you to give me something in return. I'm investing something in you. You now owe me a debt. Tomorrow, when I'm sick or unsuccessful in my hunt, you'll be the one to come to my aid.
In this world, physical money is not necessary. What is necessary is social memory. You must remember who has helped you and who is continually taken without giving back. In small groups, reputation is your currency. The more trusted you are, the richer you are in that community. Now, the question is, if there are no written records, no cash books, and no accounting, how do they ensure no one is cheating? How do they know who owes money and who is paid?
The answer lies in our heads. Early human brains weren't just tools for making spears or mapping animal tracks. They were incredibly complex social data processing machines.
This is what anthropologists call a social ledger. Everyone in the group is an auditor. We instinctively notice who takes meat but never shares the fruits they find, who always asks for help when building a shelter but disappears when it's time to gather firewood.
We evolved to be very sensitive to cheating behavior. If someone violates this social agreement, if they consistently take from the system without ever giving, their reputation will be ruined. In small groups where survival depends heavily on cooperation, a bad reputation is a death sentence. You won't be expelled, but you will be isolated.
So before coins, we had a system of registered trust, not recorded on paper, but recorded in the collective memory of the group. We didn't need coins because we had a social memory that punished betrayers and rewarded those who were reliable. And here's the most interesting part.
Is this system really gone? Or are we actually still using it today, behind all the digital transactions you make every day?
The social memory system worked very well as long as we lived in small groups of people who knew each other. But the world changed. Groups started encountering strangers, people from other tribes, people who didn't know who you were, and more importantly, people who didn't know your reputation.
Suddenly, the social ledger in your head is no longer useful. If I meet a stranger on the river, how can I know if I can trust them? How can I exchange my goods for theirs without fear of being cheated? This is where the need for something more was born. Not just a promise, but an object. An object with mutually agreed upon value. Something rare, hard to find, and not readily produced. Early humans began using objects like cowrie shells, polished obsidian, or rare animal teeth as symbols of value. Why these objects? Because they were vessels of trust. If you accepted this shell, you knew that another tribe across the mountain would accept it as a valuable medium of exchange. This thing isn't money like the rupiah or dollar coins we know today. It's an entry ticket to communicate with strangers. It's how we expand our circle of trust from just family and friends to a vast trading network. Imagine this: a small shell picked up from a distant beach, carried across a mountain just to be proof that you are a trustworthy person. Before there were written laws, we used stones and shells to keep promises. Now, compare that system to what we have today. We've moved from a social ledger based on trust and reputation to an anonymous economic system based purely on extraction. In ancient times, money was a medium of communication. If I gave you something, it was a symbol of a promise, a symbol of a bond, and a symbol of a commitment to continue working together. Today, we can transact with people we've never met, in countries we've never visited, with just a tap on a screen. Are we more efficient? Absolutely. Are we more prosperous? Economically, yes. But there's one big thing missing. When money becomes divorced from human relationships, when money becomes an inanimate object thought of only as a number, we lose the moral brakes that once kept us honest. In the past, if you cheated someone in a transaction, you would lose everything in your group. Now, you can cheat thousands of people anonymously, and the system won't punish you socially. We've created a world where money flows faster than ever. But trust? Trust is increasingly hard to find. That's the moral abyss in our history. We've turned what was once an infrastructure of trust, a way to take care of each other, into a product that can be extracted, manipulated, and consumed without limit. So, did early humans have money? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. They may not have had coins in their pockets or balances in the bank, but they had a belief system that was far more sophisticated and more binding than anything we have today. Money is not a recent technological invention. It is the evolution of how we trust each other. It began as social memory, grew into valuable symbols, and ultimately became a highly efficient, but also highly anonymous tool in the modern world.
Perhaps, amidst all the sophistication of our financial system today, there is a forgotten lesson from our ancestors, that ultimately, the value of anything we own,
whether it's a piece of meat in ancient times or the numbers on your phone screen today, depends entirely on how much we can still trust the person in front of us.
I'm Prehistick, and this is a story about how we, as humans, learn to value trust. Thanks for watching.